So as we all know, Canada is hosting the 2026 World Cup. Over 1 million visitors will be actually flying this summer to watch all of these 13 matches in Toronto and Vancouver. Deloitte, hired by FIFA itself, has projected $3.8 billion in revenue from this tournament alone. The GTA gets $940 million out of this, and Vancouver is going to be getting $1.3 billion. But here's what nobody is talking about. That money doesn't go to stadiums and hotels. It goes to whoever is positioned to capture it. And right now, that positioning window is still open, but it is closing very, very fast. So today, I'm going to be walking you through 4 specific ideas that you can get started to capture a piece of this. We'll talk about real numbers, real legal setup, and how you can make most of it. So let's get into it. I'm Lakshay Gandhi, I'm a CPA, and we help Canadian business owners, investors, and realtors keep what they earn rather than give it all away back to the government. Every 4 years, the World Cup creates an economic shockwave. But 2026 is going to be different. I have lived in Canada for over 20 years. This is the very first time in 32 years that Canadian government has actually landed, or North America is, hosting the FIFA World Cup. It's the largest World Cup in history with 48 teams and 104 games being held. And 2 of the host cities, Toronto and Vancouver, are right here in Canada. I've broken this opportunity into 4 business ideas. Each business idea will be unique with its own profit model, with its own risk model, and what are some of the things that you can do around it. Stay until the end because the last segment covers a CPA level guidance that can help you save and minimize on a lot of taxes. So business number 1 is basically printing t-shirts, custom World Cup merchandise. So here's the model. You design t-shirts, scarves, and hoodies. You hire a supplier who prints them on demand. So this means you don't have to keep any inventory. Your supplier is the one who is going to be printing them as well as shipping them directly to the doorstep of your consumer. So your only investment is your time and that you spend on designing the t-shirts. So here's how it will look like. Your design is liked by somebody, so they order it. Your order goes directly to the person who wants to print on demand, which is basically a shop who has warehousing with inventory. They're going to print it and then they're going to ship it to the consumer. So according to Shopify Canada's own research, you can actually sell a t-shirt for $25. The cost is $7.50 and there's a $17.5 in gross profit. That means you can make a big money. That's actually 70% gross profit margin before any platform fees hits in. Factor in Shopify, ad spend, platform fees, and you're looking at roughly 40% margin. This is actually real examples for companies like Printify who has reported this type of sales. Now, here's the most important thing you need to know before you design or sell anything. Because this is what differentiates between sellers that are shut down versus sellers who actually make it. You cannot use any FIFA World Cup logos or any FIFA logos that is going to put you in jeopardy. They are all federally trademarked. The sellers on the Reddit community in the print on demand section, they're actually reporting that if you list anything like this, your website will be taken down within 48 hours of listing it. So no official logo, no team crest, and no trophy images. What I would recommend you to do is work around the Toronto's vibe, the diaspora, the national identity, incorporate like the maple leaf, right? This will give you and set you apart from the competition and connect you with the audience. So things like my parents came from Portugal or my parents came from France. These are some of the ethnic identities that you could put on the t-shirt, which a lot of people will be willing to pay for. So that diaspora angle, combining it with where you actually came from within Canada, is actually bringing in a lot of traffic and visitors for people who are actually in this business already. So national colors, city references, and diaspora angle. All of these 3 can actually be the top 3 players that you can use to sell your t-shirts. The play here is not really volume. The play here is designs. You're not trying to sell 10,000 generic flags. You're actually trying to build a limited drop that a Canadian who's basically second generation living in Canada can connect with. That is actually personal to them and not something that they can completely, grab off the shelves. So what platforms should you be doing it? I would recommend using Shopify, partnering up with Gelato, or even Printify. This can actually help you fulfill all the orders within 48 hours of, getting them. That's the brand play. But if you want something that is a little bit more bundle, the next idea is definitely for you. Business idea number 2, the car fan kit bundle. So here's what it is. You take 4 simple products, which is 2 window flags, a set of mirror covers, a mini dashboard flag, and a sticker that you can put on the dashboard. And you bundle them together and you sell them as an ultimate fan kit for $25 to $40. So why does this work so well? Because if you put together this simple kit in front of a fan who's watching the World Cup, they would buy this without hesitation because the cost is so low. The margin story is very strong as well. You can actually order these flags for 80 cents from China, sell it for $6, and that's basically 80% gross profit margin. After all the costs, you're realistically looking at roughly 40 to 50% in net profit margin, which is amazing. The sourcing is also straightforward. You can go on Alibaba's website. It has 2 major merchandise providers for FIFA World Cup. It's Yiwu and Ningbo. They have different types of merchandises, thousands of SKUs. The minimum order quantity that you can do is roughly 100 to 50. So go on their website, check it out. Your sales channel for this type of business would be TikTok mainly, and even Instagram. I would run ads on Canadian diaspora, specifically Italian Canadians, Portuguese Canadians, Moroccan Canadians, and even Brazilian Canadians, because these are the communities that visibly celebrate this. You can also run a 15-second transformation video on your car to get it out, and you will see the content will actually perform on its own. So that's the conversion machine. But what if you don't want to be doing it all slow and you want fast cash, you don't want to deal with directly consumers, you want to deal with another businesses, you want to be middleman, or you want volume? Well, then the third business idea is for you. So business number 3 is wholesale distribution to retailers business. The model is simple. You import flags like medium, small, large from China to your place. You then actually put all of the merchandise in your vehicle, and then you go door to door. You go to convenience stores, dollar stores, nearby any stores that sell this kind of merchandise, and you sell them to the retailers. You work out a deal with them on, let's say, a wholesale price. You sell them in bulk, and then you move on to the next store. There's going to be thousands of gas stations and neighborhood stores that are actually going to be selling these kind of things directly to the consumer. So this is your chance to be the wholesaler to all of these retailers. And here's why Canada is the best country to do this type of business. According to the 2026 export paper published by Alibaba's Southeast Asia division, Canada is the 3rd largest flag buying country in the entire world. They represent roughly 4.18% of all global international flag purchases. The wholesale margins on these fan flags are actually 20 to 40%. But if you source your own flags with your own labeling, your own custom designs, you can actually increase the margin because you don't have a direct competitor to compare your product with. This will make sense because your margins can jump from 20 to 40 to 45 to 60%. The retail pitch is easy as well. You can go to any store on Steeles Avenue on Toronto or even Commercial Drive in Vancouver. You go door to door, you actually sell the product for $1.50. Minimum quantity is 100. They can then retail it again for $6 to $7 per piece. Both parties make money, everyone's happy. And the good part is, even if they have any leftover inventory that they weren't able to sell, they can actually store it, and for the next event, they can bring it out again and actually resell it again. Now, a lot of people ask, do I need some sort of license to operate this business? Well, the answer is no. Most type of merchandise doesn't need a specific license to be imported in Canada. What I do recommend is speak to a CPA to help you set up with a sole proprietor model where you can get a business number as well as an import and export business license. It typically takes half an hour to 45 minutes, not a very cumbersome deal to set up. A 20-foot container would roughly cost around $2,500 to $4,000 Canadian. What I would recommend for a small sample test, do air freight, but once you see commitment and you test out the market, then you can commit to a full container. Now that's the cash flow engine, the wholesale model. What if I told you I was saving the best for last? The fourth option is actually the highest paying out of the all four models. So business number 4 is Airbnb short-term rental arbitrage. And I want to be very precise with you on this one because based on the numbers, I don't want you to dismiss this as just a hype. Airbnb has officially announced in partnership with Deloitte that any host during the FIFA World Cup across all listing will be roughly making $2,700 roughly in Toronto and $4,200 in Vancouver. And this is across all listings. And on popular sites like AirDNA, which track the nightly price, you can see on June 12, 17, you're paying around $1,125 per nightly price in Toronto, whereas the average is only $247. That's 355% increase from the regular price. In Vancouver, actually, the nightly price has gone to $1,950 for hotels per night. And across the 16 cities that the FIFA World Cup is being hosted at, this Airbnb search volume has gone up by 80%. 146,000 fans are expected to come in Toronto and 204,000 fans are expected to visit in Vancouver. Well, now you can see the demand is real. And you can see where I'm going with this. Now, the opportunity comes in for people who don't own a property, the short-term rental arbitrage. So the model is very simple. You actually go to a landlord, you pay them a fixed price, you tell them that you're going to be doing subleasing this for Airbnb purposes. You take their property, you list it on all the platforms like Vrbo, Booking.com, and Airbnb, and you charge a premium for what you're actually paying the landlord. Airbnb is actively trying to increase their listings on their properties on their platform. So for this, they're giving a sign-up bonus of $1,000 for Toronto and Vancouver, whoever lists this for the first time and rents it out. This cash incentive was actually confirmed back in February 2026. There's an important legal note here. If you actually go ahead and list someone's property without telling them that you're going to be doing Airbnb, you can be in legal trouble. So make sure you get explicit written consent from the landlord that you're going to be listing their property on all these platforms. So 4 businesses, 4 different methodologies, 4 business profit models. Well, these are all interesting, but without a good CPA level setup, you're not going to be able to come out as a winner in this. So the next segment is where I talk about how you can set up all of these businesses and protect yourself. So whether you do one of these businesses or all 4 of these businesses, here's the exact legal and tax structure that I would follow in order to protect my profits. Step 1 would be registering as a sole proprietorship. This is by far the simplest structure in Canada. You do a quick setup, you call the CRA, or you can get our help to help you register for a sole proprietorship. Once it's registered, you track the income and profit, preferably in a separate bank account. And at the end of the year, you combine all of the income and expenses and you go to your accountant and they file your sole proprietor income taxes with your personal tax return. There's no extra corporate tax filing fee. There's no extra jargon that you need to be worried about. Step number 2 is getting your import and export license. If you're ordering any flags or fan car bundle kits, you're going to have to need or register for an import-export license. This is actually registered through the CRA and they will open an additional RM account, which is your business number RM0001. RM stands for import-export. Don't ask me why they chose the initials RM, but that is how it's set up. It's completely free. You can ask your CPA to do it or we can even do it and help you get set up with this one. Once your first shipment arrives, if you don't have this license, the CBSA will not really release your goods. So make sure you have this in place. Step number 3 is understanding the GST HST threshold. This is the one that you need to pay a little bit close attention to. Once you are registering the business, you need to track your sales. If let's assume you cross 30,000 in annual sales, then it's mandatory to register for an HST GST number. Don't worry, if you actually crossed and you didn't pay attention, you still can backdate to last 29 days, like last 30 days, you can go back the registration date. But it is very important to keep track of your sales because once it is crossed 30,000, you actually have to register it. Step 4 is claiming your input tax credits. Once you're registered for GST HST, this is one of the biggest benefits that most new first-time entrepreneurs miss. All of the HST that you're paying on ads, your Shopify, your platform fees, or even shipping, this HST can actually be claimed back at the time of taxes in form of input tax credits. So for example, you were doing deliveries, right? And you paid roughly $1,000 in fuel expenses for the previous year. You must have paid $130 on top of the $1,000 on fuel, and that $130 can actually be claimed back on your taxes. So it is very important to track all of the places that you're paying HST, whether it be fuel, whether it be purchases, whether it be delivery. Every HST that you're paying is going to be added at the end, and on your HST tax filing, you're going to claim it as ITC, which is input tax credit, and it's going to reduce your HST payable. So this is a direct refund to you, so don't forget to track it. Let me bring this together for you. The FIFA World Cup for 2026 has already begun, and the window is very short to do any of these side hustles. And 4 of these examples that I have ran you through are executable within days, not months. If you get stuck with the setup and things like that, contact us. We'll be more than happy to walk you through every single process, whether it be getting your sole proprietor license, whether it be registering for GST, HST, whether it be getting your import or export license. We can do it all. So today we talked about 4 very unique business ideas inspired by the FIFA World Cup. I like them all, but which one did you like? Comment below and I would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.